Any memories of working with Virgil?
But Virgil, man, thought he was the shit, okay? Now, you've got the $1 Million Man, and you've got my dad, and then you've got me that's greener than shit, that's listening to everything everybody's telling me to do, and Virgil's telling me what he wants to do, but I know I'm better than Virgil already. And I'm thinking to myself, the only thing you got, because I've seen it firsthand, is a horse. That's about it. The man had a dick bigger than anything I've ever seen in my life. It was incredible. But that's about all that I could say about Virgil.
Is that the first time horse has gotten applause in the Comedy Store? What else do you want to say about Virgil? Any other memories?
Zero.
At least he's hung, right? At least he can...
It was very sad when he tagged in and I have to face Virgil. I was like, please tag out and give me Teddy. Please bring him back in here. Because it's just horrible. Just everything hurts. There's no finesse with him. He beats you up. You know what I mean? You just got to take it. And it's just... Ugh.
Nice guy, at least?
He's okay, man. He's full of himself. There's a lot of people in our business that are full of and full of themselves.
But they're not all hung, ladies and gentlemen.
You ever seen a baby's arm holding an apple? That's about what it looked like. And he'd walk around the dressing room just flinging that like crazy, man. I'm just like slapping the legs, and I'm like, what the f***? Put some clothes on.
One man is very fond of Virgil's penis in the corner. Such a really visceral image in my mind. Something that's interesting is in the UK, obviously, WWF was bigger than WCW was because it was on more. If you wanted to watch WCW in the mid-90s, you had to watch, ITV at 3 in the morning or something. But in WCW in the mid-90s, you had Mick Foley, Steve Austin, a lot of guys who would go on to be big players in the Attitude Era. And at that time, WWF were trying some really atrocious stuff, like Bastion Booger, Giant...
Oh, you don't like Bastion Booger? No?
Giant Gonzalez.
He was terrible, man. That guy was the drizzling It was horrible.
But what was it like for you guys? Because you guys are good and you guys are in WCW. Did you guys feel like you guys were part of a next generation of guys that wanted to get more of a chance? Because at that point, Hogan and Savage and all these people were still the ones on top, but that time had kind of passed.
Yes, we definitely did. And I was so hungry then, Now being almost 50 here, I'm not as hungry anymore because everything hurts and I've done just about everything there is to do. But back then, being 22, 23 years old, working with stunning Steve Austin back at that time, and us going out there every night and just coming up with different things and different ideas and really hungry and wanting to entertain the crowd, bleeding, all kinds of stuff. It was the funnest time of my career. It really was an enjoyable time with Steve. And one story, we're at a fair, okay? We're at this fair that people will pay to get in the fair, and then they can come in and watch the wrestling matches at WCW. So we had a pretty good crowd, and they're not your general wrestling fan crowd. And they're all there, and Grizzly Smith is Jake's dad. If y'all know Jake the Snake's dad. He was our producer and agent back at that time. And we both went to Grizz, and we said, Grizz, can we get some juice tonight? And he said, I don't think that'll be a problem, and we figured he would say no because it's a fair crowd. It's on a Sunday afternoon. People are getting out of church and taking their kids. So we went out there and put on this clinic, man. It just had this awesome match. I mean, Steve is so good, so much fun to work with before he became Stone Cold Steve Austin, because then he just did 2 or 3 things and that was it, as far as moveset wise. But the wrestling back then, we were so hungry, and we went out there and cut ourselves, man, and we're bleeding like stuck pigs in front of this fair crowd. 25 minutes later, we come back, and Lex Luger looks at us. He's like, what the f*** are y'all doing, man? He had no clue. It's like he had the body and the look of a god, you know what I mean? But couldn't work a lick. Could not work his self out of a paper bag. Really, seriously. But he looked great, so they were pushing him. You know what I mean? But me and Steve, we laughed about that all the time because he had no clue what we were doing, and that, you know, we were so hungry because we wanted to entertain. We weren't just there. It's a fair crowd. Let's go out there and just put on a little show here and give them just a little bit. We went out there and gave them everything. So it was awesome.
And then in '94, WCW bring in Hogan and Savage, which, you know, you can understand why. Big names, they've still got value and all that kind of stuff. But then they're bringing in other guys like the Honky Tonk Man and the Nasty Boys, and people who you could argue had their day and maybe shouldn't be in that position anymore. Was that tough for you guys? That, like, you know, like you say, you're going out there and working these really hard matches, and then they're bringing in these like guys from the past who maybe don't care as much, and you guys are still having to.
You're talking about a WCW?
Yeah.
No, I didn't. I never saw a problem with that. I mean, I know a lot of the youngsters today, they get pissed off when they bring in guys that have drawn a lot of money, like the old timers and some of the IWC fans. They get on the internet and say, why are they bringing this guy in? You know, give the time to the young kids that are training, you know, and doing it. This is like one night. You know, there's no big deal for let them come in because they do mean something to the wrestling world and the wrestling business. So they always got, I mean, if they've drawn some money, they've got my respect.
And when you're in WCW as the natural Dustin Rhodes,
yes,
did you feel that you could get to the next level as that character? Did you feel a change was coming before Goldust? Like, did you feel that was the character that was going to get you where you needed to be, or did you send
the natural?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what Dad pinned me, you know. I mean, he watched my career before I went to WCW in Florida and things like that, and he watched the tapes, and he was the boss at WCW, and yes, of course, that's going to be hard, but I'm not thinking that. I'm just hungry, and he coins me the name The Natural, Dustin Rhodes, because I was natural. I was smooth. I'm like a lot like Randy Orton as far as being silky smooth in the ring, and always with timing. Timing is a big deal in our industry. If you don't hit somebody the right way and they don't react a certain way and this and that, then it's going to come off and it's going to look cheesy and But if you do it right and the timing is there and you're smooth with certain things and you've learned your trade and you've really studied because you're hungry as then it's going to show. And it showed. And that's why he named me The Natural. And, man, I loved it. So I thought The Natural's going to go a long ways and hopefully one day face Sting for the WCW heavyweight title, you know, for the world title. That would have been nice, but that never happened.